I want to turn now to a woman with a unique perspective on this war, former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch. She was appointed in 2016. She served in that role until 2019, but then she was abruptly recalled by President Trump, who claimed Yovanovitch was undermining the push to pressure Ukraine into investigating the Biden family. Her ousting and her testimony on Capitol Hill were key factors in the Trump impeachment and Senate trial. And Ambassador Yovanovitch is with us exclusively ahead of the release of her new memoir. It's called Lessons from the Edge. Ambassador, good morning. It's good to see you. I never dreamed we'd be meeting under these circumstances. And I want to ask you about what's happening in Ukraine, a country you know so well. First, just your impressions on whether the U.S. and the NATO allies are doing enough. Clearly, we've seen these crippling sanctions, the Russian economy in free fall. But Ukraine wants help in the form of a no-fly zone. We saw the Polish deal overnight rejected by the U.S. and NATO. Is the U.S. and the West, are we doing enough?
We are doing a lot, and we need to keep on doing more. And I think the administration and NATO are looking at what more can be done. There's unbelievable security assistance that is flowing to Ukraine that is vital, humanitarian assistance, economic assistance. And I think the administration and NATO do need to look at the possibility of a no-fly zone for humanitarian purposes.
Of course, they say that means you're walking into World War III. You're having a direct confrontation with Russia. What's the counter to that? I mean, everybody wants to help Ukraine,
right,
and everyone is terrified of a nuclear confrontation with Russia.
Right. So that is a real concern. But I also think that we cannot let Putin set the terms of this debate and have Putin decide how this is going to go. But we nevertheless need to be very careful and plan everything out well.
Yesterday, the CIA director told Congress that Putin's mindset has hardened. His words in recent years, he's become more isolated, and he is likely to double down. What's your assessment? How far is he willing to take this, despite the economic and other pain he may be feeling from this?
I think that assessment is probably correct. I think everything we've seen is that Putin is not yet on a path to an off-ramp, and that he will double down. And the Ukrainian people are the ones that are going to pay the price, but so are the Russian people. And I think that's important to remember.
And many have suggested that Putin won't stop with Ukraine. And that's really the bedrock of Ukraine's argument for more military intervention from the West, that if you don't stop him here, he's going to keep going.
And I think that's what we've seen over the last 2 decades, where Putin went into Georgia in 2008, Ukraine in 2014, got away with it, and thought he was going to get away with it again. And that was a huge miscalculation.
Is there an off-ramp for Putin? I mean, people talk about saving face or some kind of graceful exit. It's unclear whether he even cares about such things. But is there a way out of this?
I think there's always a way out. Diplomats are very optimistic always. And so the Ukrainians and the Russians are still talking. That's important. And obviously we are looking for ways to reach out. And when Putin is in the right place, I think there will be a way to conduct those negotiations.
Why do you think he chose to invade now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think that he has been obsessed with Ukraine for a long time. You can see it in his actions as well as in his writings and his speeches. I think, you know, he's got presidential elections coming up in 2024. He wants to look good and strong, and he miscalculated. He thought this would be a cakewalk, and it is not. The Ukrainian people are resisting, as those of us who know the Ukrainian people knew they would.
That leads me directly to my next question. You've spent time, you've walked in those streets, you know those people, you've eaten at those cafes, you were ambassador, you spent many years in Ukraine, a couple of tours there. Tell us about the will of the Ukrainian people. What are we seeing on display? And President Zelensky as well.
Yeah. So I think, just to start with President Zelensky, I mean, he's a comedian, as everybody knows. He's also a businessman. He started this media conglomerate, a self-made man. And now he's president, and that was extremely unlikely. But he has met his moment. He's a hero now, inspiring not only the Ukrainian people, but also the world. The Ukrainian people are, unruly. They love freedom. They're not going to let anybody tell them what to do, certainly not Putin. They're kind of like us in that sort of very independent way. And they have always been strong and independent, and I think you're seeing that now, that they're not going to give in, they're not going to give up. everybody from, little kids to grandmas packing Molotov cocktails and other things. I mean, it's incredible.
Well, talking about resilience, your book is called Lessons from the Edge, and it details your whole life in foreign service, but in particular, people will remember you testifying at the impeachment trial of President Trump, a difficult decision for you. Why did you decide to testify, and was it worth it in the end?
So it was a difficult decision because, I've kind of been a rules-following diplomat for 33 years, and the Trump administration was telling me not to testify. But in the end, I decided that my duty to the Constitution was greater than to any individual or a particular branch of government. But it was a tough decision.
Well, it's a heck of a story, Marie Yovanovitch. Thank you for being here this morning. And want to mention that the memoir is called Lessons from the Edge. It's actually out next Tuesday, but you can find out more about it at today.com/shop. Madam Ambassador, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Find your favorite recipes, celebrity interviews, uplifting stories, shop our favorite deals, and so much more with the Today app. Download it now.